everyone, what's going well? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be part 2 of my Know Yourself series, where I explore different tools designed to encourage self-reflection and build self-awareness. If you haven't checked out part 1, I will link it on the screen. There I explored the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and I discovered my personality type. So for today's video, I will be exploring astrology. Now, there's honestly so much to unpack with astrology. So for now, I will just cover the basics, if possible, and make this as painless as I can for myself. I initially wanted to make this video with my best friend because honestly, she's so much more well-versed on this topic, but best believe there will be another featured video with her in it where we can get more into depth. So astrology can be pretty tricky at first because it involves a different type of wisdom. It's more intuitive and involves many layers. But regardless of what you may or may not know about astrology, I'm sure you are all familiar with the 12 zodiac signs and probably already know your sun sign based off of your birthday. For example, my birthday is January 13th, and because that falls within the time frame of December 22nd to January 19th, that makes my sun sign Capricorn. For most of my preteen to adult life, the extent of my knowledge on astrology revolved around this sign. It influenced how I perceived myself and my identity in relation to others. The way I'd use astrology was I thought I knew so much about a person based off of their sun sign. When I was a preteen, I'd read my horoscope in magazines and check up on my crushes, and depending on the stereotypical problematic traits that certain signs would carry would depend on which signs I would stay wary of. If you know, you know. But even though astrology does provide us cosmic clues as to why we're attracted to or indifferent to certain type of people, I was honestly missing so many pieces to the puzzle. And it wasn't until a few years ago I discovered just how much more there is to it. The knowledge I thought I knew was incomplete and kind of ignorant. Astrology can give us a deeper understanding of our relationships with others and can reveal where certain natures may come into conflict and point out where we can grow from this conflict. But first, it helps to uncover the extent of our own potential self-discovery through astrology to get there. If you're a fan of the internet, you may have noticed more and more people using terms like moon sign and rising sign in conjunction with their sun sign, which are referred to as the Big Three or the Celestial Holy Trinity. These are basically the 3 pillars of our personality. These placements can be found in your natal chart, which, if you don't know what that is, it's where the planets, moon, and sun were aligned in the sky at the time, date, and location of your birth. To break it down a little bit more, our sun sign represents our identity or our ego. It's the essence of who we are and how we express our individuality. Our moon sign is our secret self. It's who we are when we're alone. It rules our emotions, moods, and feelings. And our rising sign, also referred to as our ascendant, is our outward personality, or the mask that we present to others. And a little side note, what's interesting about our rising sign is if we look up our horoscope, it's actually more accurate to use this sign rather than our sun sign. I'll link an article down below explaining why if you wanted to check it out. So not only does our natal chart consist of the Big Three, but every planet represents a facet of who we are and expresses their energies through the signs that they occupy on our charts. For example, let's take Mercury, which is the planet of communication. My Mercury on my chart is in Capricorn, so how I communicate or even absorb and process information is expressed through the lens of Capricorn. If you're interested in accessing your own natal chart, I can provide a few links down below. Again, you'll need your exact time, date, and location of your birth. So here's my chart on my screen, which shows all my placements and relationships between my signs and planets. I have no idea how to read these charts, but usually these charts are accompanied by breakdowns. Personally, I just use this app called CoStar because it provides a simple breakdown of my signs and their corresponding planets, as well as each house that they're in. And what are houses, you ask? So just as the sun, moon, and planets are divided into 12 signs, our chart is also divided into 12 houses. Each of these influence different areas in our life. For example, the first house is considered our house of self, and influences our appearance and outward personality. The second house influences money, possessions, and values. The third house influences communication, immediate environment, and siblings, and so on and so forth, etc., etc. But as you can see, not all 12 houses have to be present in your chart, the same as the zodiac signs. The houses represent larger life themes that you're meant to face in this lifetime. So I'm going to screen record and look at the breakdown on my app. As you can see on the top of the app, it does show my big three, which is Capricorn Sun, Libra Moon, and Capricorn Rising. And to break down my chart, I obviously have a lot of Capricorn. So my ascendant, my Mercury's in Capricorn, Uranus, Neptune, and my Sun. And those are all within the first house. So just to kind of explore that, my Sun in Capricorn, the Sun determines your ego, identity, and role in life. It's the core of who you are and is the sign you're most likely to already know. Your Sun is in Capricorn, meaning you are fundamentally responsible, serious, efficient, and rational. This can lead to power-hungry ambitiousness. You have a tendency for workaholism, that's a hard word to say, and success, or support for the dreams of those around you. Emotionally reserved, you need to learn to express your inner world and have fun. It's in your first house, meaning you feel the need to distinguish yourself from others through your self and self-image, and because it's in your first house, your Sun in Capricorn is hyper-present in your personality. So yeah, it just gives like a little breakdown of what the Sun sign represents and how Capricorn influences that, and what it means if it's in your first house. So my Saturn is in Aquarius, and it is in my second house, and my Venus is in Pisces, and that is also in my second house. So let's look at an example. So Venus in Pisces, second house. Venus determines how and what you love. It indicates how you express affection and the qualities you're attracted to. Your Venus is in Pisces, meaning your romantic side is sentimental, dreamy, and gentle. You have an endlessly deep well of compassion and love, but have trouble protecting yourself in relationships. It's in your second house, meaning that for you, love is often expressed in money and material possessions. And then moving on, my Mars is in Cancer, and that's in my 7th house. So if I were to look at that, Mars is the planet of aggression. It determines how you assert yourself, take action, and the energy that surrounds you, particularly in your sex life, your ambitiousness, and when you're angry. Your Mars is in Cancer, meaning you assert yourself in a way that is emotional and somewhat passive-aggressive, and you push things forward only when you feel safe and secure. It's in your 7th house, meaning you put a lot of energy into close relationships and long-term partnerships. And my Moon is in Libra in the 9th house. The Moon rules your emotions, moods, and feelings. This is likely the sign you most think of yourself as, since it reflects your personality when you're alone or deeply comfortable. Your Moon is in Libra, meaning your emotional self is balanced, harmonious, sees both sides of every situation, indecisive, relationship-oriented, and desperate to please. You can be a little self-obsessed, but tend to hide your feelings and needs. It's in your 9th house, meaning you find security and safety through philosophy, faith, education, and politics. So going through this app and kind of reading through each of the breakdowns, I again want to mention and emphasize that this app is simply a tool. As much as I believe in the validity and wisdom of astrology, and honestly, I see a lot of truth within these breakdowns, not gonna lie, even though I kind of called myself out a little bit. But regardless, I don't have to agree with every single thing said because there are many factors to consider that make me who I am. And there's even other specific placements within my chart that can influence other areas. I know that getting an actual professional reading done would be so much more accurate and thorough than using an app like CoStar, because I don't think CoStar gets as into depth as an actual professional reading can. I know my best friend actually did get a professional reading done, and she mentioned that it was so much more thorough, and they take into account certain patterns or planetary cycles and kind of just show the overall relationship between all the signs and how they interact within your chart. I can't really speak too much on her experience because it's not my experience, but I am planning to get my own reading done soon, so hopefully I can make that into a video and share more. So bringing it back to relationships within astrology, I like that this app can also break down our friends' charts in relation to our own and show where we are compatible or where our nature may come into conflict depending on the signs. And looking at it this way in this format is so much more thorough and helpful, I feel, than just basing your knowledge on a person on their sun sign alone. So I'm going to go ahead and look up mine and my best friend's compatibility chart. And because I just can't help myself, I'm actually going to get on a call with her so we can discuss this. So, surprise. So, hey.
Hey, BFF.
Hi. Okay, so if you guys don't remember, this is Kai. She was in a few other videos that I have here on my channel, and she actually has her own YouTube channel called @Comic-Kyrie, so I will link that down below so you could check out her stuff. So, yeah. Astrology.
Astrology.
So, in the spirit of full honesty, I actually had finished, edited, and completed this video, but because me and her had a really good conversation about our charts a couple of nights ago, I was like, you know what? I can't wait. I'm just gonna include like a little segment with you on this video. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so again, just like looking at our chart together, as you can see in our big three, we both share Capricorn Sun and Libra Moon. So already we have a lot of harmony there within our chart. And in her rising, she's Aries and I'm Capricorn. And then just going through the rest of our chart, our Mars is harmonious because she's Taurus, I'm Cancer, and our Jupiter is harmonious because she's Leo and I'm Libra. So as you can see, we do have quite a few planets that have potential conflict in nature. Our Mercury, our Venus, and our Saturn have potentials for conflict. But it's interesting because we actually came to like this new revelation the other day when we were discussing about our Mercury, because I was like, wait, our intellect and communication, I feel like we're so like in sync with that. So yeah. So what did we come to realize?
Just so cool because, I mean, I know you know this, Tina, but I've just been obsessed with, you know, the North and South Node. I always talk about that whenever we talk about our charts together. And to me, it's probably the most important part of my chart when I look at my chart, because it tells you pretty much where you want to be, like where your soul wants you to be. It's not a part of the chart that, from my understanding, has planets involved. It's the point in the sky where it calculates where in the chart the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon were at the time you were born. This part of your chart has a lot of karmic influences to it. So, for instance, my North Node is in Capricorn, and because my North Node is in Capricorn, that automatically makes my South Node Cancer. And this is because those two on, like, in the zodiac, those two are like the sister signs. So your North Node is pretty much like where, again, your soul wants to be. But your South Node, for me, it's Cancer, that would be where my soul already is. It's like, that's my past life. That's who I came here already as. But my North Node is my destiny, pretty much, right? So yeah. What's really cool about that part, just our Mercuries, our intellect and communication, which you're like, what? How do we have an indifferent smiley face there? we're so aligned.
I was like, that's not true.
Yeah, that's so weird. It's like we're so aligned when we talk. But what we realized is that since your Mercury is in Capricorn and my Mercury is in Sagittarius, I realized, oh wait, our Mercuries are the opposite of each other's North Nodes. That's so weird, because Tina's North Node is in Sagittarius, which makes her South Node in Gemini. But because she is meant to be kind of exuding more Sagittarius energy, of course you would be attracted to my way of thinking. I feel like intuitively I feel like you just sense the Sagittarian energy radiating from me, and since you know that's where your purpose is kind of meant to be, it elevates you in a way. And that's the same with me when it comes to your Capricorn energy. I am enamored by your Capricorn energy because there are moments where I don't feel like I'm just like fully stepping into that Capricorn power, where that's where my destiny lies. And so because you exude so much Capricorn badass energy, I just listen to you like, oh shoot, she really has, you know, she has those traits that I know would help elevate me into my destiny and my purpose. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting how those energies interact with each other, and it's supposedly indifferent, but no, it just shows us where we help each other grow.
Exactly.
So it's
and
so
from
exciting.
the start of like our friendship, I feel like that's always been the case. I feel like we've always been those expanders for one another. Like that's what makes us so compatible, because of those differences. So like even though like of course we share harmonious signs, it's really like in those differences where we grow from one another and learn from one another, because in the differences of how we think and how we communicate, it just works.
It does. It honestly, it makes so much sense when we're together. I mean, I feel like, yeah, like our basic identities are so hyper compatible. Like our moods and our emotions, our moon signs are the same. So we have very similar moods and emotions. Like we can understand each other on that level. And our sun signs, our egos are very much aligned. We both have a similar drive to, you know, thrive and be successful in this world, right? Because it's very much Capricorn. But it's in those indifferent in that section of indifference where we're just like, oh shit, she challenges me.
I think it's interesting too, because not only, okay, so I know we also kind of discussed like the placement of our houses. Your Sagittarius Mercury is in the 9th house, and
Your Capricorn is in the first house. Your Mercury's in the first house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that was really crazy to look at, because oh my gosh, yeah. Since my Sagittarius since my Mercury is in Sagittarius in the 9th house, I have a lot of like spiritual kind of philosophical energy about me, where like those are where my interests lie. And not that like, you know, having your Mercury in the first house makes you like self-absorbed. No, it makes you self-reflective. And I feel
exactly.
Yeah, and I feel like because I've watched you be so self-reflective and be so, you know, on top of like knowing who you are, like that helped me so much. And because I was always so spiritual in our friendship, I feel like that helped you be more, not you were always spiritual, but I feel like it just gave you more permission.
Because my Libra moon, like my secret self, is in the 9th house as well. So that speaks to my Libra moon.
Exactly.
So not only is it like my Mercury being in my first house, so I'm all about like self-discovery or whatever, but that coupled with my Libra moon just works so well with like your placements.
Yeah, that's so true.
I hope you guys are following along.
I know
it gets really confusing, but this is just an example of like peeling back the layers of like okay, in this breakdown it says like you guys may have trouble like understanding how each other thinks or like how you communicate, but it's like for us it's like it's because of that difference that we understand each other so well, and because of those other placements that influence like those parts of our charts, if that makes sense.
That makes sense to me, because I understand your way of intellectually communicating.
There's just like, yeah, so many traits that we admire in one another. It's just interesting because like again those differences create even more harmony within us, because we're like, oh, give me more, like I want to be expanded more by you.
Yeah. And you know, a more insecure version of myself, because I admire that Capricorn self-motivated energy so much, like again like a younger, more insecure version of myself would think like, why does Tina even like me? I'm so like woo woo in the clouds, and I'm so into it makes me like, oh, you have that serious, straightforward, driven energy, and I just get kind of intimidated by that. But it makes sense that you would be so drawn to the way I think, because it's like in your future. It's supposed to be a part of your future. So that actually like alleviates a lot of anxieties about how I feel about my own ways of communicating. Like, oh, it just really speaks to her. It makes sense.
And also there's a part in my human design chart, which is going to be part 3 of my
Know Thyself.
It's going to be in the next video where I get into human design. So if you don't know what that is, you will. Don't worry about it. But even in my human design chart, we discovered like that there's a part of my design where I'm drawn to the mysteries of the world.
Yes, exactly.
Like, so it makes sense because you embody that, like, already, that spiritual energy. And like, I'm always drawn to that, like, whether if it's me finding it on the internet, like looking up paranormal YouTube videos, or just like, it doesn't even have to be paranormal. It could just be like anything within the realm of like the unknown, or like the mysteries, or like the bigger questions of the universe.
And yeah, you having that part in your human design has helped me to come to terms with those strange happenings in my life that I often would just kind of hide away and not really acknowledge out of fear of sounding crazy. But because you are so, it's literally written in your chart that you're here to help, bring more awareness to that part of the world, right? Like you're here
and
normalize it. Yeah, it makes me feel like, okay, safe. And it helps me further explore it and become more well versed in it. And that's basically our friendship.
So yeah, just again moving through our chart, our Venus, our love and pleasure. There's also potential conflicts in nature in that part, because she's in Aquarius, I'm in Pisces. But I feel like with love and pleasure, it doesn't have to just be like for your romantic partner. I feel like love, that's just knowing each other's love language, learning each other's love language, and knowing that the way we feel love is different, Yeah. So I feel like even me and Renee, as compatible as we are, that's something over the course of like our relationship, we've had to learn each other's love languages, because me and him are also in that same spot where we're indifferent there. We have potential conflicts in nature. So
that's so interesting, because like me and Armand are indifferent in almost every other aspect except for love and pleasure. Like we understand each other's love languages, and the rest we had to figure out. And for our Saturns are completely opposite. Not completely opposite. Our Saturns are fall under the indifferent category, and my Saturn's in Capricorn, meaning I struggle with my sense of responsibility, ambition, conservatism, repressed emotions, and obsessions with money and power. And your Saturn is in Aquarius, which means you struggle with your superiority complex, your little god complex, Tina, and being overly detached. Oh my god.
I'm so overly detached. It's amazing.
But it's so funny because it says right here, your struggles are fairly different, but with empathy, you can help each other grow. This is the thing that I love. Because we struggle with different things, we don't really enable each other. I feel like if we had the same struggle, we might not move. We would sit around and probably complain about the same struggle. But no, because you struggle with being overly detached, and I do not struggle with it all whatsoever. and I struggle with a sense of responsibility, and just watching you have your car payments on time and just having your shit together all the time. I'm just like, wow, I could learn from that. I gotta step my game up. I don't feel like we enable each other when it comes to the things that we struggle with. That's such a blessing in friendships. I feel like my chart shows exactly why I've been more about other people. You know, I struggled with codependency for a really long time. My life was always made about the other person, you know, family members, whatever. And so I get drawn to people who are more independent and they think for themselves, you know, they're not always just constantly minding everybody else's business. They're just so about their own. And I love that about you. And I feel like that because I love that so much about you, I start to take that in and I start to emulate it in my own life.
Yeah.
It helps so much too with my career choice, like being a therapist. I don't feel like I bleed into my clients and they don't bleed into me like historically would probably happen. I think it's because I learned a lot of that from you.
Yeah. And I definitely always like admire, you know, the connection that you're able to have with other people, and you're not overly detached. And I strive to be more like that. Like I want to be connected. That's literally like one of the big reasons I started YouTube, is like I want to connect with other people who, you know, are on that same inner journey, like grind, you know, just trying to self-improve and figure this life out.
I love that. And I think you're doing such an incredible job at it because you're sharing parts of yourself that I love about you. And I know that when people get to know you, they'll love all those parts too.
So validating, because even if we knew nothing about astrology, like we feel it, like we know we've helped each other grow, like we know we've been expanded to like by one another. We know, like, you know, where our differences are and like where we've learned from each other's differences. Like it's just so validating to see that broken down within our charts.
It gives a name to what we already know to be true. I feel like that's what makes it so fun for us, because we're like, oh my gosh, there's a name for what we feel. There's a reason for it. And I feel like we always rejoice when it comes to that.
But yeah, so that's us peeling back the layers. Yeah, it just goes to show, like, your chart with other people, like whoever it may be, you don't have to be hyper compatible. And sometimes, like, if given the right placements, it's even more beneficial to attract people where there is potential for like conflict in nature, but you're able to grow from that. So I hope that wasn't too hard to follow along. If you have questions, just ask them down below, and we will have more astrology videos in the future.
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is so fun. It was so nerve-wracking because this has been a part, like for me personally, this has been a part of myself that I've been really, not secretive about, but I guard it with my life because it's been something that's helped me so much, and I don't want to be judged for it, you know?
Yeah.
And so this was really freeing. It was so liberating being able to talk to you about this. So thank you for having me on. Yeah,
thank you for last minute agreeing to do this.
This is Kamakiri out.
All right, thank you.
Bye, BFF. Love you.
All right, so I hope that little discussion segment we had going on wasn't too hard to follow along or too confusing, but the more layers that I uncover when exploring this tool, the more insight and understanding that I gain. If you have any comments about anything that I discussed in this video, anything that you want to add on to, feel free to comment down below, and even let me know if there's more accurate apps out there or tools out there that I can use other than CoStar. Again, I know and I'm aware that CoStar isn't probably the best, but I feel like it's the most easy to understand and simplify. It's kind of just like a one-stop shop to see like all of my different placements. But yeah, also comment down your big three if you know them. I am super curious to know. It's so fun to look at other people's charts and just kind of see them in relation to my own. And I'm well aware there's plenty of mixed views about astrology. Some people don't believe in it, but regardless, it's fun. It's a cool tool to help us self-reflect. But alright, I'm gonna stop there. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like. And if you haven't already, subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, bye.